Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Way That I See It. If you're watching on video, welcome back. It's a little bit cold in here. I was super toasty a minute ago, now I've gone super cold. But I wanted to jump on really and talk about today because, I have been so tired the last week. So, I got back from Maui, end of first week, end of last week. Oh my God, the dates all blur into one. And it's actually taken me really kind of 10 days. And actually, I discovered I got a bit of an infection in one of my glands. So still chasing down these rare antibiotics. I mean, that's a whole other story. But the point is I've been a little bit tired. And so I think what it really inspired me to talk about was how I really feel about when you get really sick of yourself. When you're really sick of something and you're like, I am done, I've had enough, this is it, I'm moving on, thank you, fricking next, right? And I guess I really wanted to share and talk about that with you because I think what happens so much of the time in the personal development space is one of two things. So one, we're either always chasing the very next thing because we have no idea how to be happy where we are, or two, we're in this constant state of abundance and gratitude, which means that we never actually change and grow because we're like, I'm perfect as I am, right? And the truth is, neither of those places is really growth, right? Neither of those places is really thriving. Neither of those places is really what I personally define my life success by, is neither of those things, right? I very much see the success and growth of my life based on feeling really good, being really happy, being really fulfilled, and then go, okay, great. From this place of abundance, I'm just moving my camera slightly over. There we go. Hopefully that looks better. From this place of abundance, from this place of growth, and now I'm gonna XYZ, right? So I'm not manifesting from a place of lack. I'm also not manifesting from a place of I'm good, everything's good. Because here's the thing, manifestation, and especially when it comes to money, right, often is born from desire. Now, I had a really controversial phrase this last week that said that if you want something, by wanting, the very feeling of wanting something means that you're in lack. And I loved it because it's so true. If you find yourself in oh, but I want it, right? It just reminds me of kids throwing a tantrum in the Tesco toy aisle because they're not getting the Barbie that they want, right? Whereas when you desire something, that feels abundant, that feels generous, that feels exceptional, it feels called, it feels inspired, it feels, I don't know, it feels fun and sexy and yeah. And when I want something, it just makes it sound like I'm a petulant child. So look, your associations are your own, but very much that's the way I feel. And so what often happens is that in the personal development space, the personal growth space, people get to one of two places. They either get stuck in this place of I should be grateful for everything. And this is where the kind of toxic positivity mindset comes in, right? Is that this feeling that we should be grateful for everything, that we should be grateful for where we are. And look, the truth is, most of us, if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably living an exceptionally privileged life. You have a mobile phone, you probably have a roof over your head, you probably have food, you probably have water. And if you don't, then fucking hell, I am sending you all the love and vibes to get yourself back or get yourself onto the track that's going to take your life to the next level. But the reality is you're probably living a very privileged life, right? That's probably the truth. And so I guess my real message is that you don't need to sit in this place of toxic positivity or everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be perfect. That's not a real place, right? So what I guess I want to get people to is, rather than waiting for your life to fall apart, waiting for life to blow up, waiting for life to be a disaster before you decide to change, versus also feeling guilty and feeling oh, I shouldn't want any more, there shouldn't be more for my life, I should be happy where I am. If you're in one of those places right now, I've been there, I feel you, that state of feeling should for gratitude is honestly exhausting. You feel oh my God, I shouldn't want more. I should be happy where I am. This should be enough for me. If you're ever saying should, and I've said this 1,000 times, if you're ever saying should, you're basically in shame. You're shaming yourself. And what shame is not anywhere near on the positive emotion scale, right? Shame is a negative emotion. It's what we use to manipulate, coerce, control, and force. And none of those things fall into the category of manifestation either, for that matter. So if you find yourself shaming yourself for what you shouldn't want or what you should want or where you should be, that's not a place, an abundant place to start manifestation. Just on the very flip side of that, that if you're somebody who's I really, really, really want this, or I'm so sick of where I am, neither of those places are really going to get you there. So I guess what I really want to share with you is sometimes we have to have our enough moment. And I've talked about this before, and hopefully you have watched it. Now, look, as much as it gets, a bit of a rap these days for being quite problematic in terms of its, let's just call it problematic. Love Actually. There's a moment in Love Actually where the best friend of Keira Knightley's husband knocks on her door, and he tells her husband that it's carol singers, and he gives her these like cards, and he shows her. He's like, this is how I feel about you, blah, blah, blah. And basically he tells her he loves her, but knows that he can't be with her. And he's just basically saying, I had to tell you, and basically get it off my chest. So what happens is he walks up the street, she runs after him, she gives him a little like peck on the cheek type thing, but she doesn't peck on the lips, but kind of says, okay, got it, thanks so much, like I care about you. That's kind of what the message says. You can really read this. But, I'm married and I'm happy, and that's that. So that's kind of the end of that. But what he does is he walks away and he says, enough now. And what he's doing in that moment is he's ending that chapter. He's ending that period of his life by basically saying, enough of this, I'm sick of this, I'm over this, I'm done with this, and I'm ready to move the fuck on. And that is what I'm talking about when I say your enough moment. So a lot of people, just getting comfy, a lot of people manifest from a place of like being sick of where they are, or being like, sickeningly grateful, right? Neither of those places are a real place, and neither of those places are calling you towards what feels right. They're just what feels next. I hope that resonates and makes sense. So if you find yourself spiraling right now in a lack or negativity or downward or struggling cycle, and you're saying things like, I want this, I'm going to manifest this, what's happening is you're doing it out of panic and fear. And this is why we can get frustrated with manifestation, because when we're doing it out of panic and fear, what's actually happening is we're clutching at straws on the way down. And what we have to be able to do is either to be able to put a net in and catch our own fall and say, this is as low as I'm willing to go, right? And whatever this looks like in life, everyone's different. Or we have to allow life to unfold and happen, and to almost be like, to sit back and say, okay, I'm not a victim to this scenario, but I'm going to let this unfold and watch this unfold. And then in that time, I'm going to get really clear on what I want. I'm going to get really sure of who I want to be and what I want to happen. And when I feel like I've healed from this experience, then I'm going to step into manifestation. Because what happens is people give manifestation a bash. They give it a try. They give it a wing, right? And what they're not actually doing in any of those states is actually being intentional, elevating their emotions, getting really clear on what they want, making space, doing the work to believe they can have it, and holding the faith, right? Which, as you guys know, I've spoken to you about 10,000 times about this. They are the 5 steps. Every single, metaphysics, manifestation, spiritual teacher will give you a different word for that. That's my 5 steps interpretation. That's the way I have interpreted everything that I've learned on this subject. So my real call to action for you here is this. Is if you find yourself right now either in a toxic positivity shame cycle of, I should want more, I should want this, or I shouldn't want more, I shouldn't want this, I should be happy where I am, I should have enough, you are in shame. And shame is a negative, low vibration emotion. You've got to find a way to climb that scale. And Abraham Hicks has a very literal emotional scale, and they tell you to climb it one feeling at a time. So if you're in shame, the next step up from shame is like frustration, right? So you're basically taking something that's an inward feeling and making it an outward feeling. Now, that doesn't mean the outward feeling is more justified or right, but what you're doing is giving yourself more power back. Tell you what feels more powerful than guilt is being angry, right? When you're angry with someone, feels a lot more powerful than feeling guilty for self-creating a situation. So shame is like a step up from guilt, right? Is like, oh, I feel guilty about that, but I don't want to tell myself that. So instead, what I should do, when we say the word should, we mean shame. So your bridge to that is to then just work one step up the emotional scale. And you can literally Google Abraham Hicks emotional scale, right? Like, it's super easy. So your aim is just to climb the scale if that's where you find yourself now. And so when you start to then step into those more positive states of genuine gratitude or genuine abundance or genuine just calmness or genuine, like a very neutral or calm state, that is a place to manifest from. And if on the flip side of that, you find yourself like really in that place of frustration or guilt, or you feel sad or down, or you feel like you're on that, this is really where you can, again, plug into that scale the same way, take it one step at a time. And what most people do is they get so sick of themselves that they think they draw a line. But here's the thing I'll tell you. We draw a line when we move from a negative emotion. We literally draw all the energy away from it. we step into a positive emotion and we move the fuck on. What most people do is get frustrated and say, I'm sick of this, I'm done with this, I'm over this, but still stay in the negative emotion, still tell the story, still live in the same energy. We're not really done with it. You might have decided that in that moment that you're no longer going to feed the fuel of a fire. Maybe it's with a rift with someone. Maybe you're no longer going to pursue or something, right? But what that doesn't do is heal, right? And the first step to manifesting, creating, designing anything else in life is being able to let go of your past. And this is what I'm talking about in my 3-day money mindset series, right? So if you haven't already checked this out, this podcast will be going live on the Monday. There's one on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday nights on @NextLevelLucy on Instagram. And in my Facebook group, Next Level Life with Lucy Superfox, which you can join at any time via the links in my bio. But what I'm talking about is the first step to any manifestation, especially around money, is clearing your financial past, is clearing the past, letting go, releasing, saying enough, giving up. And like sometimes people give those words like giving up, having enough as like negative things. And sometimes, and you know what, there's one of the best definitions I've ever heard of forgiveness was, and I think it's Marianne Williamson, is forgiveness is not condoning behavior, it's giving up the hope that the past can be any different. And so if you really have had enough, if you've really had enough, you will give up the hope that you can change the past. You will stop the feeling and the need to blame, complain, and justify. You will release the need to explain and over-explain why you are where you are and why it didn't work out how you want it to work out, or why you feel stuck, or why you feel like you shouldn't move on. And you will just be like, cool, done, move on. Right? And if that isn't where you're at, then you need to follow one of those 2 steps that I've said. You need to climb your way for that emotional scale, or you need to be doing that inner work. And this is why the mini money mindset course, if especially to do with money, if it's to do with abundance, or to do with success, this is why I created this, right? Is that so many people, and me included, just to be clear, thought that I was there. Like I thought that I was there, this imaginary place, right? A million fucking times. And the truth was I wasn't there. I was just frustrated and tired. And so if you're frustrated and tired, what you actually are is you've burnt your nervous system so much to a crisp that you don't physically have it in you anymore to keep complaining, blaming, and justifying. But it doesn't mean that you're actually done with it. It doesn't mean you've forgiven. It doesn't mean you've let go. It doesn't mean you've healed. And so all the work must be done, but it doesn't have to be these hours and hours of labor-intensive work. What it has to be is the step process. So if you are ready to let go, to draw a line in the sand, to say enough, to move your life, to move your financial reality, your manifesting reality, whatever reality it is, right, to the next level, then you have to be able to call time on whatever it is in your life and be like, boom, done, time called, finished, and actually then let it go, not tell those stories anymore, not share those things. And this is why we do so much work, like I say, in the course on clearing your past, because so much of the time we've got such an emotionally charged past that as much as we want to be like, cool, I've called time, we haven't actually let it go. But what I will tell you is the last 2 years has been trauma dense, with a pandemic, with everything that happened post-pandemic, with business losses, with babies born. Like, I mean, honestly, so much has happened. It has been a trauma intense period for the entire world. And what most people are trying to do is manifest and create whilst also currently living in their trauma story, living in the negative paradigms, and by the way, I am not comparing a negative paradigm and a trauma story. I'm saying they're both much, like they're either or, right? And whatever you've been through, like I always recommend people reach out to a specialist, people reach out to the person that, the modality of, therapy or conditioning or healing that feels right to them. Like I've had psychotherapy, I have psychotherapy regularly, I've done Reiki, I've done EFT, I've done tapping, I've done a ton of other stuff. And I feel like I'm very, as you know, I have a podcast and I can't stop freaking talking, is I'm a talker and a thinker and a doer. And so what I do is have psychotherapy, I talk it out, and then when I feel like I've stepped all that out in the words, then I go do that with Reiki and meditation and exercise and things like that. So my point being that what most people believe they're doing is they're starting again on a Monday, or starting again tomorrow, or starting again next month, or starting again next year. But if you are still living in the stories, the belief system, the habits, the actions, the behaviors of your past, then nothing is going to change. And the way that we change that, the first step to changing that, is clearing our financial past, clearing your emotional past, clearing your love past, whatever this is about, right? Whether it's money, body, business, relationships, is clearing that past. And this is why I've been doing these lives. So you can take everything, all the principles I apply in these lives. Like I said, you can check them out on Next Level Lucy Instagram, or you can check them out at my Facebook group, Next Level Life with Lucy Superfox. And I'm going to talk there massively in episode 1, all about clearing your past and how to forgive and let go. And then these videos, so the one on the Monday, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so the 3 of them are going to be added as a bonus to the mini money mindset course. So I guess I really just wanted to ramble and share with you tonight that if you've had your enough moment, your steps are to move yourself up the emotional scale. And if you feel like you started to do that, you've taken baby steps, but you want to clear it, you want to let go, then make sure to plug into these lives, because these lives will give you the tools and the resources you need in order to be able to do that. So as always, that was the way that I see it. I would love some reviews. I'd love you to share, tag, like, comment, share this with a friend. Let me know how you get on. I've got a very selfish goal to get to 1,000 followers on my podcast this year. I'm really passionate about making personal development accessible, making financial wealth accessible, and empowering not just women, but really just empowering people to take control of their lives and ultimately take the next step. So I love you all very much. Have the most beautiful week. We've got some exciting stuff coming up. And if you feel called, if you feel like right now this is the time for you to take control of your life, the mini money mindset course is currently 25% off until the beginning of February. So I love you all very much. Make sure to check it out, lucysuperfox.com/mini courses, and I'll speak to you on the next episode.